Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The privilege is mine to make my humble contribution to the debate in relation to the 2016 budget. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our distinguished guests from Canada and, of course, His Excellency the High Commission. And like you, sir, I hope that their stay here would be memorable. I also would like to extend a warm welcome to a full gallery of students from President's College, sir, who are with us today. And, sir, I also would like to take this opportunity to convey, sir, our deepest sympathy to three Amerindian brothers who have, I understand, have just been killed in a horrific accident in the Rupununi. They have, sir, our deepest sympathy. Sir, I wish to begin by offering my congratulations to the Minister of Finance and, of course, his competent staff for presenting and preparing the 2016 budget. And I have listened to the debates from both sides of the House. I have listened to the almost utopian outpourings which have emanated from the government side in relation to the absolute perfection with which this budget is blessed. And I've listened to the realistic and pragmatic arguments coming from this side of the House. And I say, sir, that I stand proudly with the pragmatists in our today's debate. Sir, I want to begin by beginning with the very title of the budget, sir. The budget is titled Stimulating Growth, Restoring Confidence, the Good Life Beckons. Sir, I thought it curious and indeed courageous that a minister would choose growth in his title as part of his speech. Because when I looked at his own figures, sir, his own figures chronicled in his budget, it is the first year that this coalition government has assumed governmental office. It is the first year that they have taken control and management of the economy of this country. And it is the first year, sir, that we are recording our lowest economic growth in 10 successive years, 3.0%. And that's the minister's figures. It is, sir, a sign, hopefully, not of things to come. Because I am a patriot, sir. I want the best for my country. So I hope, sir, that in future the minister will have a better performance to report in his next budget. Sir, but even the 3% growth rate that is reported in the budget for the year 2015, many persons out there have a difficulty in accepting. And, sir, while we may generate using macroeconomic mechanisms and using the Bureau of Statistics and the Central Bank to generate figures which establish growth rate, the real barometer for me, sir, is the views of the people out there who live in the economy, and their views, sir, are what, to me, are important. And I spoke with, sir, a wide cross-section of Guyanese. I spoke, sir, with the market vendor. I spoke with the professional. I spoke with the public servant. I spoke with the horse cart man. I spoke with the taxi driver. I spoke with the lawyer. I spoke with the businessman on Regent Street. And they all said, sir, they all said that in 2015 they experienced a horrible year. They said, sir, that money was not circulating. They said, sir, that their business performed badly. They said, sir, that they experienced the worst Christmas in decades. That is their view, sir. So we can in this air-conditioned, very comfortable setting, we can speak about high growth rates, but the people out there have a different reality to which they are living.
That's right, that's right.
Sir, and when one looks at the figures and the productive sector, then one sees that the persons out there, the views that they have expressed are really borne out. Because in the productive sectors, as reported by the Honorable Minister, there was an increase in rice, but we all know the reality, no market for rice. The rice was reaped, but it is still in the factories, it is still at the wharf, it is still in the storage bond, and it is rotting there. So the rice farmers are in financial chaos. The sugar workers, they increased production, sir, but they were not paid their API because the world market price was low. The construction sector, sir, that is suffering from inertia because the government has basically torpedoed the previous government housing drive. So one of three ready-mix company now is up for sale.
What?
Construction is on the decline. Gold, sir, the prices remain stagnant in the world market, and there is no increase in production here. The government's efforts, sir, to grant concessions to the miners have been stymied because of a requirement that they put into the concession that the miners must get tax compliance. Of course, the miners find that a nightmare, so none of the concessions which they were granted are being enjoyed by them. So in all the major productive sectors in the economy, sir, they are not performing. And that is why, sir, the man in the street is questioning the minister's growth figures.
Man in the street. Take a boat
And then, sir, to rub salt into the injury, the Honorable Minister, in a contracting economy, in a depressing economy, reports to this House and to the people out there that there are no reported job losses. An astonishing statement. Person stopped me on the street and asked me, sir, if we can do something about statements being made in the National Assembly that are completely out of sync with reality. Because persons who have been dismissed are hearing that there are no job reported losses. They want to know if they have become phantoms. They are not recorded anymore in this country. 1,972 Amerindians, hundreds of employees in the public sector and the private sector have been dismissed. Sure. I have filed in the High Court several actions for dismissal. Whether the dismissal are wrongful or not is a matter for the court, but the dismissals have taken place. And the minister is saying, no reported job loss.
Oh,
so people out there are questioning the minister's figures, and that's not a healthy thing, sir. And then the other very, I don't want to say outrageous, but what the people out there find very, very unnerving, sir, is another statistical data disclosed by the minister, and it is the exchange rate. The minister reported in his budget that the Guyana dollar, the US dollar is changing at 206.5 cents with the US dollars, 206 Guyana dollars, 50 cents to the US dollars. That the people out there find as a total outrage. Because when the man from Rupununi goes to the Cambio, he has to pay 210 and 212. When the comrade from Durban Street goes to the Cambio right on King Street, he pays 210 and 212. When the comrade from Blackbush Polder goes to the Cambio in Rose Hall, he pays 210 and 212. And the distinguished and honorable minister is telling the House that the US rate is changing at 206. So the people out there want to know where these figures are coming from because they are living a different reality, sir. Different reality. So, sir, thank you for your protection, sir. Sir, and then I wanted to know where this boost in revenue came from because the minister reported that there has been an increase in revenue. And when I carefully checked the budget, I saw the transfers coming from the extra budgetary funds from the statutory agencies. A total of $9 billion, sir,
9 billion.
taken from these agencies that they claim were illegal. But sir, so that is where the surplus came from. It didn't come from the economic activities officially. It came from monies that were put there under this government. This government. But sir, what is more fundamental is that the press would recall, the people out there would recall, and Your Honor will recall, that there was a long and dedicated campaign by the honorable members of that side when they were on this side to remove these monies and place them in the consolidated funds. Mr. Speaker, all manner of arguments were advanced. They said it was unlawful. They said that it is unconstitutional. They said that it is being kept in those funds for corrupt purposes. They brought a motion to this House. They even brought an action in the High Court challenging the legality of these monies. Now, sir, they are in government 9 months after, and they are refusing to transfer these monies. We call upon them, sir, to transfer every single cent in the extra budgetary funds into the consolidated fund. The Lotto Fund has over $28 billion in it. They have only transferred 1 million. Are they keeping 27 billion for corrupt purposes? I hope not. Let them transfer it now. That is what they said, sir. And let them deliver on that promise. Sir, we were told that growth, sir, comes from consumer spending. Growth comes from consumer spending, comes from investment, from government spending, and from net export. And sir, I looked at the factors in the budget to see what will stimulate this growth that the minister speaks about. Of course, there's going to be government spending, because we are told that it is the highest government injection into the economy in any given financial year thus far. So yes, we know that there will be government spending, but we also know, and the minister will know much more than I do, that government spending alone cannot propel the economy forward, cannot bring the desired growth that he aspires to achieve. So I am looking, sir, for the measures in the budget that will inspire the growth that the minister is speaking of. And what I find, sir, is the opposite is contained in the budget. There is an over-reliance on taxation in this budget. Everyone here would have witnessed the minister reading a slew of legislation bringing to the House just now. All of those legislation are designed to impose additional taxes on the people of this country. Sir, from 2008, as the Honorable Gail Teixeira reminded us yesterday, from 2008 to 2014, our last budget, no additional taxes by this government, our government. Not a single one. In fact, every year we designed different measures to reduce tax burden. Here you have a slew of measures that are designed to increase taxation burdens and then to widen it. The net is so wide, sir, it captures from man to mule. From man to mule, no one is exempt. And sir, that is not the type of model that will achieve the stimulated growth that the minister aspires to achieve. Because when you have increased taxation, Minister, when you have increased taxation, you don't raise salaries at a proportionate level then you're taking away from the consumer the disposable earnings.
Oh my God.
So how are we going to get this growth, Mr. Minister? How are we going to get this growth? So, Mr. Speaker, I ask that the minister review this taxation burden that he's imposing on the backs of the people of this country. This budget has no new salary announced, but a dozen and a half or more of taxation impositions. Not a single budgetary salary increases. We are told, sir, that we have to wait on collective bargaining. But the tax measures are coming immediately. They are coming immediately. And another important omission of this budget, if it wants to advance growth, is the lack of a regime of concessions, tax concessions, that will attract investments and encourage consumer spending. What the minister has done, and he does it very grudgingly, he assesses the volume of concessions granted and he has placed a value on it, and essentially he advances the theoretical argument that our economy cannot afford these concessions because he has placed a value. Well, to the distinguished minister, and I say with the greatest of respect, sir, that is a very myopic view to take of concessions. You have to look at the concession, sir, but not in isolation. You have to look at the concession, then measure it against the investment that it will yield.
Yes,
You have to measure it against the jobs that it will create. You have to measure it against the spending that it will generate. And then you get the true picture of what the investment is, what the concessions are. But this budget, sir, and the ideology expressed in this budget is that concession is a bad thing. Let us reduce it. Let us reduce it. That, sir, will not foster, it will not induce, and it will not engender the economic growth that the minister speaks about. And then, Mr. Speaker, the minister said that he wants, and it's a good measure, at least good intention, he says that he will incorporate a new set of procedures which are intended to make business easier, to remove red tapes, to overcome bureaucratic hurdles, and, sir, to reduce corruption and advance efficiency. Very high idealistic principles. I wish him all the best. But the problem is that in the very same budget, he announces a very peculiar budgetary measure. He says that before you can get a public license in this country, you have the applicant must satisfy the agency to which he is applying, one, that all his tax returns are in order, two, that he has paid all his taxes, or that he has an arrangement to pay off all his taxes. Mr. Speaker, that will lead to a bureaucratic nightmare, and that will be a breeding ground for corruption. First of all, the minister, when he imposes that new measure, and it is being imposed, he doesn't speak about the institutional building of the capacity of GRA to deal with the traffic of applications that it will receive when the new measure is imposed. The GRA is the same organization, nothing to improve it, human resources otherwise. But yes, of course, the first duty is to pay your taxes. But you also, at the same time, have to increase the state's ability to collect the taxes.
That's the point.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the point.
So, sir, when the first wave of applicants, when the mule cart driver goes there for his license, the minibus driver goes there for his license, the grocer goes there for his license, The shopkeeper goes there for his license, and then they are all told that they have to now go and get a tax return in order. They have to pay off their back taxes. Mr. Speaker, can you imagine the confusion that will take place? And Mr. Speaker, significantly, sir, there are some legal implications as well with these licenses. Now, there is something fundamentally and conceptually wrong with using one set of legislation as an enforcement mechanism to enforce obligations under another set of legislation. I will deal with that just now. There is something fundamentally wrong with that. Fundamentally wrong. If there are violations of the Tax Act, if there are violations of the Income Tax Act, if there are violations of the Corporate Tax Act, then these pieces of legislation have their enforcement mechanisms. Use it and go after the defaulters. Don't burden another set of legislation with the responsibility and the duty of enforcing this set of legislation. And it's not that we are without precedent on this matter. Mr. Speaker, in 2003, we amended our Constitution and we made as a fundamental right the right to work. Article 149 of our Constitution now reads, "No person shall be hindered in the enjoyment of his or her right to work, that is to say, the right to free choice of employment," unquote. No person shall be hindered in his right to work. No conditions are attached to this. Now, when the minibus driver goes to renew his license, and that is his work, and then he's told that he has to obey and not satisfy another set of conditions, sir, you may be in a collision course with the Constitution of the country. And as I said, we are not without precedent. And I implore my honorable friend, Mr. Ramjatan, to listen to me. A few years ago, sir, we implement a similar measure here in relation to professionals. We amended the Tax Act to say that professionals, before they get their tax practice certificate, they must file updated tax returns. Not that they must pay their taxes, not that they must enter into an arrangement to pay, but they must at least file their tax record. Mr. Ramjatan went into the witness box in the court, honorable member. Legal proceedings were filed by the doctor, by the accountant, by the lawyer, by the engineer, through their respective associations. After 14 years, that matter is still ongoing. Mr. Ramjatan went onto the witness box. Honorable member.
Honorable member, let us not try to allow ourselves to be.
Yes, no. It's because the honorable member is speaking. Undoubtingly, and the honorable member himself went into the witness box to depose how unlawful it was for us to protest. Integrity in public office is important, sir. I'll move on. Sir, so I am asking, sir.
What? On the what? On the what?
Dr. Wansi, could I please correct what? Because it would appear. Please. It is misleading this House as to two matters. The matter is sub judice, and he's raising it here to begin with. And secondly, he's misleading the House. The taxes were increased from 10,000, as you know, Your Honor, to 250, and the constitutional motion that I brought was oppressive. The tax practice certificate. So please, let him get it right. Yes.
Sir.
Honorable member, Mr. Nandlall. you are aware that we ought not in this House to raise as an issue matters which are before the court. I would
No, is that
suggest...
sir, if I may, sir, is that
No, you may not. You will listen to me now.
Yes, sir.
You are aware that the standing orders do not allow us to make mention of matters which are before the court.
Sir, with the
You are also aware that this matter is still before the court. I would suggest that you do what you know you should do in this matter.
Sir, the standing orders do not say that you cannot mention a matter that is in court. The standing orders say that you cannot mention in the matter in such a way as to prejudice the proceedings that is in court. Yes. That is what the standing order
Hold on to the argument.
That is what the standing order says.
Honorable Member, I shall read the standing orders to you.
So do I sit or do I stand, sir?
Who you tell us to do?
Honorable Member, you may sit.
Sit, thank you.
Reference, and it will be helpful to all other honorable members. Reference shall not be made to any matter which is sub judice, in such a way as might, and I would emphasize the words following, in the opinion of the chair, prejudice the interest of parties thereto. I would think that a reference which includes gratuitous expression like integrity in office, in the same breath as you were making the point, should not form part of your presentation here today. I would invite you to withdraw it and start again. You are fully capable of doing all the things you want to do and saying all that you want to say without gratuitously importing matters which you know you ought not to do.
What? That integrity is important to public office? That's a statement of fact. Sir,
Honorable Member, are you withdrawing the reference?
which reference, sir? I'm unclear.
The reference to the case before the court at this time, the reference to the discussion as to who went into the box, the reference as to who argued the motion in relation to the income tax.
Sir, I maintain, sir, that there is a challenge in the court against...
Honorable Member, the Speaker has asked you a question. I recommend that you withdraw it and start again.
I want to make reference to a case that is pending in the court, and I wish to assure Your Honor that I will not say anything to prejudice the outcome of those proceedings.
Honorable Member, I give you that, but give the chair what is provided, that is, to determine whether, in his opinion, it's likely to do that. The chair so finds.
Can I make the statement then, sir, and then you will judge?
Honorable Member, I wait your response to my request.
I want to say, sir, I want to say that there are proceedings pending which challenges the legality of a provision in the Tax Act which requires persons who are to obtain a tax practice certificate to first file their returns. There is such a proceedings pending in the court.
Honorable Member, am I to take it that you withdraw the references to a particular honorable member in here?
Yes, yes, of course, yes.
Well,
yes.
then you should tell us that.
No, I wanted to know what you want me to withdraw, sir.
Honorable member, honorable member, honorable member, I'm waiting for the withdrawal, and then you may proceed.
I withdraw the statement to in which I mentioned Mr. Ramjitan's name, the honorable member.
I accept that, honorable member. You may proceed.
Yes. So, sir, I am humbly and respectfully cautioning the Honorable Minister of Finance to expect a slew of litigation in relation to some of these measures, which impose burdens on the taxpayer in relation to one set of legislation to enforce another set of legislation.
Yes.
And that is an eventuality that the honorable member will have to confront soon.
The President.
Sir, the other issue of growth, because that is the title of the budget, stimulating growth, sir. Now, we can't put stimulating growth on the title of a budget, and that by itself will cause growth. We have to ensure, sir, that we have policies and we have programs that can achieve the growth that we speak about in glossy print. And Mr. Speaker, that is what I want to speak to quickly, some of the measures. Mr. Speaker, firstly, this government, I implore this government to demonstrate to the people of our country that they respect and they will protect private property. Because we have had a series of incidents where persons who have been issued with transports and certificates of titles and are living in their homes, they are being ejected from their homes.
What?
With notices being erected by the Central Housing and Planning Authority saying that this is the property of Central Housing and Planning Authority.
What?
And persons, titles and transports are being revoked.
Mr. Speaker, on a point of order, standing order 40A. Again, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member is referring to a matter that is before the courts of Guyana. And the matter before that court was actually initiated by him. And we are asking him, sir, to desist.
Honorable,
Continue, man.
Sir, I am speaking.
the honorable member for his intervention. Please continue.
I am representing the interest of dozens of people with whom I have spoken, whose properties are being taken away by the state. That is the contention that they are advancing. Whether it is in court or not will never be a guard against me speaking on it. An injustice remains an injustice, whether it is litigated or not. Litigation is to bring justice, not to perpetuate injustice.
They're not, but even if they were so. They're not, but even if they were so.
Honorable member, the words will still remain the same. Do not expend so much energy. Please proceed.
Injustice has that effect on me, sir. Injustice. Yes, sir. So when we speak about growth, growth comes from investment. It comes from spending. People will not invest in an economy They will not spend in an economy, and there will not be growth in an economy where private property is not protected. That's the fundamental point here.
Honourable Member, even with pauses, you have 5 minutes remaining.
Mr. Speaker, the points of orders are usually not included in the calculation of times for speakers because there's a pause. Otherwise, this could be a measure, sir, that every time we speak on this side, points of orders are raised, taking away time from us. Secondly, sir, in relation to the honourable member's time, excluding their points of order, he therefore has a total of 35 minutes, and I'm seeking the 5-minute extension within that 35 minutes.
Honourable Member, I thank you for your intervention. Honourable Member, you will speak for a total of 35 minutes. There's one point to be clarified. We have here, the Speaker has observed the practice that he observed yesterday and that he's observed in every debate here. When matters are prolonged, the timer goes on hold. It begins again when the honourable member again returns to his statement. There ought not to be any further comment on this, honourable members, unless you feel that your timing should be preferred to mine. Thank you. Please.
So, sir, I spoke about the importance of respecting private property. Another important issue, sir, that needs to be reviewed by the Honourable Minister of Finance, another policy, is the use of the SOKU. This use of SOKU. The reports that we have received, sir, are that SOKU is violating the rights of people. It is inimical. The way that it is conducting its business is inimical to the economic interest of this country. People's monies are being seized in whimsical manner. Their jewelry are being taken from them at the airports. That cannot be stimulating to growth, sir. And we are asking for a review of SOKU. Sir, it was set up also for a completely different purpose, which is to examine and investigate genuine cases of money laundering and terrorism, not to be unleashed on the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, I want to call on the government, if they want to restore confidence, restoring of confidence in the economy, then they must observe the procurement laws of this country. They cannot handpick contractors and give them millions and millions of dollars of contract without any transparent process and in disregard of the procurement law. Mr. Speaker, we demand also the consumers must enjoy the reduction that is taking place with fuel prices. The real reduction, Mr. Speaker. We want the electricity tariffs to drop. We want also gas at the pump to reduce, because that is important to stimulate growth. Mr. Speaker, we also want the ban to be reviewed on vehicles. A lot has been spoken about in relation to cars. One car and the auto dealers have spoken. Don't bother with me. Don't bother with us. The auto dealers have issued a statement. And they have said that the cars will go up by nearly $2 million. Beyond the reach, beyond the Auto Dealers Association, the umbrella body, it will go beyond the reach of the ordinary consumer. But that's not who I'm worried about. I'm worried, sir, because the budget speaks about growth. I'm worried about the productive sector, the agricultural equipment, the construction equipment, And I have here, sir, a list of prices of trucks and motor lorries and capital equipment that are now being imported that are 15 years old, and I want to give the likely price that it will be if the new ban is imposed and the importers are forced to bring in vehicles that are 8 years and under.
Honourable member, you have 5 minutes more.
Yes, sir. A Bedford axle single axle truck now is 6 million. It will become 18 million. A double axle truck, 9 million. It will be 27 million. A hauler, that is a truck that pulls a container, double axle is now 7 million. It will be 20 million. A Caterpillar excavator 312 is now 12 million. It will be 24 million. A 320 excavator is 15 million. It will be 36 million. A grader is now 28 million. It will be 68 million. And I have a whole list. It will be construction will stagnate in this country. And sir, and only special interests are going to benefit. Not the ordinary contractors out there. The special ones like the bees, they are going to benefit. The bees. Right? So sir, I want to move quickly, sir. I want to move quickly, sir, to the legal sector. My learned friend, the Attorney General, sir, the Honorable Attorney General, who is scheduled to speak after me, will have to report on a number of things, sir. He will speak about the opening of the land registry, commercial registry, on Avenue of the Republic. And I hope that he will say, sir, that is a PPP government project. He will speak, sir, about the construction going on in the Georgetown High Court compound, where a building is being erected to house 2 land court judges and registry, and I hope that he will say that is a PPP project. Construction will soon begin at Sparendam to erect an edifice that will house 2 magistrates' court and chambers for the magistrate. I hope that he will say that is a PPP project. He will open this year the family court, and I hope that he will recognize that is a PPP project. He will also,
Honourable member, you have 3 minutes remaining.
Yes, sir. He will also open the Letter Magistrate Court, sir, later this month, and I hope that he will say that is a PPP project. He will announce the establishment of a new office of the Director of Public Prosecutions in Berbice, and I hope that he will say that is a PPP project. Because other than that, sir, he has nothing else to say. I have read the budget, and there is nothing there, sir, from the legal sector. Sir, so as I wrap up, sir, I looked at the entire estimates, and I was wondering where the growth will come from. And then I stumbled, sir, on the list of expenditures. I stumbled on the item dietary. And I found, sir, that in 2014, the government spent $3.6 billion in dietary. And in 2016, we are budgeting $4.8 billion in dietary. An increase of $1.2 billion on dietary. So, sir, we will have growth. We will have growth, but it will not be economic growth. It will not be economic growth. I thank you very much, sir.
Guys, without the money.
I thank the honourable member for his statement. The next